should be treated with the utmost of care, like a bank. There's a third method of attack that we weren't able to show Linus. Lucky for him, his network blocked the requests. On many networks, you can use the IMSI number in the switching center input parsed in step 2 to send a command deeper into the network. By targeting the switching center where the device with IMSI is connected, we can issue a command for services, such as routing, forwarding calls, or providing emergency services based on the device's location. Using this request, we can track the target's location. It's not as hard as you think. SS7 doesn't even rely on GPS to locate something. In fact, it's invented before GPS was even in use. One way to do this is if a target is in range of multiple cell towers, their location can be narrowed down to where the signals overlap. The more towers in range, the more precise the location. A more accurate method measures the time it takes for signals to reach a point in 3 towers. By calculating the distance based on transmission speed, we can pinpoint the exact location of a lane. But SS7 attacks don't use either of these methods. They incredibly subtle. An SS7 location request simply identifies the cell tower the target is connected to. In an urban area with many towers, this will place them within. If you wanted to, for instance, find out whether they had home or at work, this is a great way. Yeah, that's a little bit scary. In 2016, Karsten and his team used this method to track U.S. Congressman Ted Lieu.
The congressman has been in California, specifically Eldora area. It's maybe a little bit.
So that is how we did it. We executed 3 steps. We infiltrated SS7, gained trust, and attacked. We intercepted lines of phone calls. I'm not sure he was as excited about it.
This one can have nice things.
Up until now, I've demonstrated these attacks on a friend of mine. But the threats are big. Before Latifa was abducted, his phone was the target of an SS7 attack that involved all 3 of the steps we explored. To start, the attackers had leased multiple GTs in different countries. Then, the following all happened in a 5-minute window. First, they sent at least 7 separate requests aiming to get the captain's IMSI from his US-based operator. When that didn't seem to work, they followed up with at least 4 location requests. So, did it work? Well, all of these requests were blocked by firewalls. That's why we have all the details. There was a 6th GT which showed this one nearby US. We have no information about the request from this GT that is likely to be strong. We spoke to Crocodile and the story. And this is what he told us. It's about brilliant criminals have used SS7 as two-factor authentication codes and empty millions of dollars from bank accounts. For some, SS7 is just the first step. The NSO Group, a notorious Israeli cyber surveillance firm, acquired an SS7 tracking technique. Subject 0 click.
I never took that.
Not many could say basic data, like device type and software version, to make their life easier. That's the data. This isn't hard. One expert we spoke to tested a foreign network and found 20 to 30 VIPs were constantly under surveillance, including the country's chief of cybersecurity. Accurate data on tracking is difficult to come by, but another expert provided evidence of more than 2.5 million tracking attempts per year. So they reminded us that the people who are targeted are generally those interested to stay engaged.
We couldn't find data on interception attempts, but luckily experts told us this is far less common. So millions of sent each year used to be networks. To request location over MSM, you used to be able to send a command without even knowing the input. And the network would have provided you with the right command. It kind of figured out all the time. At the end of Karsten Knoll and fellow security researcher Tobias Engel exposed these vulnerabilities publicly in 2014. The SS7 research that was disclosed in 2014 was a wake-up call. Most people had heard rumors that SS7 tracking and spying is possible. They hadn't really seen how negative with especially California. Yet the recognized men had this capability. All of the results because it was used a lot and never used
I never look at the pet.
over 150 other
Not many can say the same.
There are so many ways to use we got rid of it. Well, because it's the backbone of 2G and 3G communications. So what if we phase out 2G and 3G? Well, that's the problem. Since 2018, cars in the EU are equipped with mandatory emergency call buttons that trigger in an accident. They need a SIM card to work, and to cut costs, guess what auto manufacturers are using? That's right, 2G and 3G SIM cards in SF7.
Have to have that legacy support or with 4G connectivity.
A great day rises from the earth, heralding a new day. What the Mississippians build will uphold our batteries.
What's surprising, of course, is that there hasn't been a single push yet to replace SS7 with one of the few newer versions of the technology, the latest of which was introduced with 5G, seems pretty secure, but that's now a problem of first mover disadvantage. So, because of the network effect, you get nothing out of adopting a technology as the first guy. You want to be the last one when everyone else is already connected and you get the full benefit from all the stuff. So even though the 5G is going for a cost and stopping many networks are using 5G technology on their networks, when routing calls between networks,
it is still the de facto standard.
You create a tremendous amount of inertia. Probably more that makes moving on extremely difficult.
So unnecessary. Some new major events that would affect the public data. It could be another 10, 15, maybe 20 years until SS7 networks are finally switched on. What's crazy is that we exploit these vulnerabilities in IoT too. I mean, did have to help us with security researchers, but I'm surprised at how easy it all is. Now imagine if I had the back end to go. This is a real problem. So what can we do to protect yourself? On the personal side, as long as you have a SIM card or a connection to authentication route, if possible, choose police effective authentication so messages can be intercepted. Use Authenticator and or smart computers. You can worry about prototyping use encrypted email-based policies on safe robots. We have told this can be used on individuals. So just putting it to you, SS7 is a huge privacy intrusion. This is billions of use cases once. What is a privacy intrusion in case of we need to rescue what's the philosophy. Somebody could avoid the intrusion to a kid's computer like a small sort of instead of privacy, the ability to inform your focus without using is a prerequisite for privacy. Many of the people are finding to create essentially our technology but can we secure replace SS7 attack? Luckily,
ask for what reason I stay on the Green Mountain. I smile, but do not answer.
Technology. First concepts situations. All while building your intuition, solve problems.
All the fair breeze.
When QR codes first came out, I thought they were awful. They are going to be gone. This is a function of the problem is that QR codes are like they mean nothing to me. I would rather just see a website or a QR
نقابل جميعا
or
مقابلة جيدة
I,
على طريق السفر.
but I was wrong. QR codes obviously turned out to be so useful that they are now ubiquitous. Used in tickets, restaurant menus, in some countries, the most common ways of explaining money. The story of QR codes is simply given. The origin of these checkmark codes actually dates back to our first efforts in digitizing information. In 1825, this originated through white kids. This pretty kid one day was created Marquis Lafayette's hero of the Revolution. Even though his wife was expecting their third child name, opportunity was too good to pass up. He set off to Washington, D.C., where Lafayette was waiting. They wrote his wife describing his first meeting with Lafayette, citing off the words, "Go right ahead, see. Love you all, children. The greatest piece of insane art productions I love it." I said his wife, how great. Trapped by this but it was far too late. His wife died. Not only that, he did this. Her body was already interesting. This freeze. From that day forward, Morris set out to find a nice way to communicate with long distances. He got a job at New York University where he attended lectures on electricity, a rapidly developing field at the time. In 1836, along with Joseph Henry and Albert Bale, devised which electrical pulses of a time. This was not the first electric telegraph, but it's the simplest. The UK and other team set up a series of circuits to find magnetic needles which made the Morse's system incorporated a single circuit, but the simplicity of the apparatus clever on the circuit, we can send short or long pulses. Morse threw these into dots and dashes. The most common letters we send a single key operators realized they could replace the lost device. This sped up the rate at which information could be sent and received. So Morse code became the communication standard for rapid listening. Widely used in military maritime communications and aviation. The universally recognized stress fault, SOS, what does it stand for? Nothing. It just happens to be easy to say and recognized in
Je suis Napoléon. Sur cette terre pour
revolutionized
déterminer le...
communication. But in the next century, it transformed a completely different industry. In the late 1940s, Irving Silver was an engineering student at Drexel University in Pennsylvania. One day, he overheard him visiting a local supermarket chain asking an engineering dean to find a way to speed up the checkout process. At that time, cashiers had to type out
There is one tree that speaks only to the
process.
austere mountain heads.
Cashiers had developed carpal tunnel syndrome. Silver told his friend Norman Joseph Woodland about the problem, and together they began experimenting. After several starts, one day on the beach, he drew some dots and dashes of Morse code in the sand, something he was very familiar with as a Boy Scout. He proposed to just extend the dots and dashes downwards and made narrow lines and wide lines. Thus, the first barcode was created. From this humble beginning evolved the universal product code, or UPC barcode, capable of storing a simple string of 12 numbers. It's read by scanning a laser across it and checking how much light is reflected to read the black and white lines, essentially as dots and dashes. A pair of vertical lines are placed at the beginning, middle, and end to ensure the scanner reads properly. The code is divided into left and right lines. Numbers at either side have their black and white lines flipped so that the scanner can tell left and right are even while reading upside down. When viewed upright, the numbers typically specify the manufacturer on the left and the product on the right. Manufacturers usually pay large sums of money to preserve a given amount of numbers for themselves so that they can exclusively register their products. In this way, the 12 digits of the barcode uniquely specify every single grocery item you've ever bought. This jar of Jif peanut butter is identified by the same 12 digits, no matter where in the world it's found. In all forms of peanut butter, smooth, cheese, stir, no stir, sugar-free, low sodium, across all brands get their own unique barcode. Will we ever run out of barcodes? Well, 12 digits combined to provide 10 to the 12, that is a trillion different possible sequences. That should be more than enough, even if companies keep making stuff like Sour Patch Oreos, flaming hot. But the last digit is not the others. The barcode creators were aware that it could get scratched, stained, or tampered, so they reserved the last digit to verify that the barcode is complete. Take any barcode and sum the digits at odd numbered positions. Multiply this result by 3. And the digit sum even numbered positions as a result. And take the remainder when this number is divided by 10. If this remainder is 0, then the check digit is 0. Otherwise, the check digit is 10 minus this remainder. If the scanner is unable to read any one digit of the barcode, it can use the final digit to calculate what it must be using this algorithm. But if 2 digits are damaged, well, then we're out of luck. Then in case we have to read the numbers written for the barcode. So without that last digit, the number of unique possibilities is infinitely 11, or 100 billion options. To date, 1.24 billion barcodes have been registered. The number is always in, so they won't last us forever. But that's not why people began to look for alternatives to barcodes. It was really fundamental to the information a single barcode could store. 12 digits by themselves could completely identify one product. But what if someone wanted to know more information, like where that product came from? In 1986, a battle in the UK bovine spiculiform encephalopathy, or Kawasaki disease for short. It is spread when cattle eat feed containing predominance misfolded proteins. And if people eat feed containing tissue from the brain or spinal cord of infected cattle, they could contract a related brain illness that literally turns your brain into a sponge. There is no test that detects cow disease in living cows. Millions of cattle were culled. Health officials sought a method to track sources of imports of beef. But with all the information this would require for any one piece of beef, barcodes were insufficient. American inventor David Allais tried to solve the problem by stacking many barcodes on top of each other. The result, Code 49, looked like a bookshelf. This is actually the predecessor of PDF 417, code often used on airline boarding passes. But Code 49 didn't solve the data quantity problem. At best, multiply the information a barcode carried by hand. A more efficient way was to extend barcodes into two dimensions, creating data matrix.
The spoken word.
By space shuttle parts. This code was printed by early digital printing lasers and was initially proprietary. Around the same time, Masahiro Hara, engineer at the Japanese auto parts manufacturer Denso, was getting frustrated at having to scan multiple barcodes filling in the same box of barcodes.
そうですね。それと自動車の工場で油を使うので、バーコードが油で売れていることになるので、そうですね。産業者がキーボードでデータを記録しているので、さらに産業者が使うようになったので、
Hara set out to develop an alternative on his own. He took inspiration from an unusual source.
キーボードは基本的に一応その生徒性のモデルチックですけど、多少ずれても我々という人間としてはどこにずれているか分かると思うので、それでインプレント的にこういうマトリックスで考えて、少しマトリックスに変することにしました。
To understand how information is stored in a QR code, I am going to build one myself in the way Masahiro Hara first conceptualized it, with and over. I have the usual black and white stones. White represents 0, black represents 1. We're going to encode the link to our YouTube channel on this board. The first step is to convert www.youtube.com/Veritasium into ones and zeros. We'll do that using byte encoding. Byte encoding uses ASCII, which itself is previously in Morse code.
There is an
Is assigned from 1 to 256. Then we convert the ASCII decimal into its binary form. Since 256 is 2 through 8, we can use the 8 binary bit combinations to represent all ASCII characters. These 8 bits make up 1 byte of information. The letter W is assigned the ASCII decimal 119, or 0111011. Doing the same for all characters in www.youtube.com/Veritasium, this is what the string looks like in binary. This is 26 characters long, so it takes up 26 bytes of information. Now, our board is 25 by 25. This is known as a version 2 QR code. But there are many different sizes, all readable by your phone camera. Hara's version 1 QR code was 21 by 21. The largest version today is 177 by 177. That is large enough to hold 3 kilobytes of information. Just 26 of these would have been enough to store all the information Apollo 11's computer needed to send humans to the moon.
At PetSmart, on a $45 item, you spend $60 on period-free plants on there.
Me? Don't worry, I can fix this. State Farm. Weirdo. One programmer even coded up a computer game, Snake, into a version 40 QR code. The rigid array of QR codes must be in a uniform color. This is a quiet zone. A distinguishing feature of QR codes is the three square patterns in the corners. These position squares allow the reader to identify the orientation of the code. Now, almost all QR codes also have a fourth square in the last one, but it's smaller and trickier to spot. This is the alignment method to rescale the QR code when it's read from varying distances or from crazy alternating angles. The relative size and distance of the alignment square with respect to the position squares allows the software to rescale it into a proper square. Next to the position squares are plain white strips that isolate them from the rest of the code. And these are planning strips, the zebra pedestrian crossings which connect the top left position square with the other two. Every QR code has these alternating strips. QR codes of all sizes visibly look the same, so this tells your phone which version it is, and therefore how much data to expect. There are 5 alternating squares in version 1. There are 9 in version 2, and so on. And next to those are format strips that contain rules for how to scan the code. I'm placing redstones in the space they occupy for now. There is another feature every QR code has. This one pixel adjacent to the bottom right position square, it is always dark. I asked Tara-san if it had any special significance, but he said no.
いや、別に黒か白かどっちか決めるっていうのは、
All of this remaining space is for data storage. Data inside a QR code always starts at the bottom right corner. Here, the first 4 squares carry 4 bits that specify the data format. 0001 is numbers, 0010 is alphanumeric, capital letters and numbers, 0100 is bytes, and 1000 for Japanese kanji. The following 8 bits are used to indicate the number of characters in our message. So since we have 26 characters, that should be 0001101. Next, we start arranging our bytes for youtube.com/Veritasium, starting in 8-bit column cells. They follow a zigzag pattern that snakes its way to the top left. Within each cell that represents a byte, the most significant bit, corresponding to 2 to the 7, is at the bottom right. The least significant, 2 to 0, 01110111W will hence be filled like this. And we'll follow along the rest. Once we fill in the bytes for www.u, we encounter the alignment pattern after bit. To put in the next T, we simply bypass it and do the same for any of the other fixed regions of the code. Thus, we keep filling in our data in the same zigzag pattern. After we complete www.youtube.c, the cells start looking less regular and more Tetris-like. But the way the stones, byte after byte, remain the same. And there go the last 8 bits, the last letter M. But wait a minute, we've only covered about half of our QR code. That's because this whole remaining space is reserved for redundancy. These extra bytes of error correction code allow us to reconstruct information if the QR code is damaged. For a fully intact QR code, error correction makes something else possible. Put in a company logo and center, just like the sponsor of this video, Salem. Now, I travel a lot. Recently, I was in Germany, right now I'm in Australia, and soon I'm going to the UK. But wherever you are, either your carriers have to roaming fees, or you have to find a place to buy a local SIM card, put it in your phone, and it works. This video sponsor, Salem, makes it easy to set up a cell plan and data in more than 50 countries. You can pick how much data you want and how long you want it for. And it is so much cheaper than roaming. I'm actually going to the UK really soon, and here's how quickly I can set up a SIM with Saley. All I have to do is click on the country, select a plan, and activate the eSIM. But when I land, I'll automatically connect to a local network with no charges. That's it. There's no Wi-Fi, and you don't have to stand in line at the airport to get a physical SIM. With Saley, you set it up once, you'll always be connected. And if you find out your phone is compatible with the SIMs, you will get a full. So to check out Saley for free, go to saley.com/Veritasium or click the link in the description. Use the code Veritasium to get an exclusive 15% off your first purchase. That's saley.com/Veritasium, or you can scan this handy QR code to get 15% off. So I want to thank Saley for sponsoring this part of the video. Now back to building our own QR code. QR codes offer 4 levels of error correction. Low, which can still be read with 7% of the code missing. Medium, which can handle 15%. Quartile, 25%. And high, up to 30%. This means QR code can still be read properly, even with nearly a third of it missing. Higher levels require more space for error correction. So knowing how much of the code is error correction is vital. This information is protected in 2 ways. First, the level of error correction is indicated in the format script, which is present identically in 2 places. The simplest way to avoid errors is to duplicate the information. Here, we'll choose the M level by placing 1 blue and 1 yellow stone here at the top left. So, what if this part gets damaged? We have a copy in the second format script, starting at the bottom left. The format script contains 3 more bits of important information that we'll get to later. So for now, I'm just going to put down 3 blue stones in both copies. But what about all the rest of the format script? Well, this is the second layer of protection. These other 10 bits are all just designed to correct mistakes in the first 5 bits. So how does this work? Let's say I only wanted to communicate 2 levels of error correction. Low or high. If one of the bits flips in transmission to 01 or 10, it's easy to know that an error has occurred. No way to know which the original message was. An easy way to fix this is to add another bit. 0 for low, 111 for high. Now, these are at opposite ends of a cube, and hence they are further apart. If you then receive 011, it's more likely that the intended message was 111, so it's easy to correct. In this scheme, the only allowed code words are 000 and 1. The rest act as disallowed buffers to indicate errors in transmission. The allowed code words should be as far apart as possible. Here, there are 3 vertices apart. This is known as the Hamming distance, after Richard Hamming, the error correction. For a Hamming distance of n, you can correct up to n-1 over 2 errors in the binary string. So 1 bit less than example. So back to the 5 bits of our format string. If I only wanted to communicate all zeros or all ones, I could place them at opposite corners of a 5-dimensional hypercube. However, our string includes all 2 to the 5 or 32 combinations of 1s and 0s as valid code words. So to provide buffers, like before, we can extend the 5-bit string into a 15-bit string. Now the 32 valid code words are separated by 7 vertices for Hamming distance 7, which means we can correct 3 bit-flip errors. The easiest way to do this is using a lookup table. The table takes a slightly misread vertex and finds the closest valid vertex, likely the code. But for our main QR code data, we need a far more efficient scheme, one that doesn't require lookup tables or doubling or tripling our data sets. Let's say I want to send you a message that is the 4 numbers 1, -2, 3, 5. If I just send these numbers, one of them would get corrupted in transmission, and you wouldn't know that an error had occurred or which digit was wrong. So before I send the message, we come up with a plan. First, instead of sending you 4 numbers, I will send 6. first 4 are my actual message. The last 2, A and B, will help you check if there were any errors. Now, I want you to treat these 6 numbers as the coefficients of a degree 5 polynomial. And I will pick the values of A and B so that this polynomial could also be written in the form of a degree 3 polynomial, call it q of x, times x minus 1, x minus 2. Now we could set these last 2 terms to be x minus a number, but for simplicity, let's say we pick 1 and 2. That way, when you receive my polynomial, you know that if you plug in x equals 1 or x equals 2, you should get 0 for both, because that's how I construct the polynomial. If you don't get 0, no, there's been an error in transmission. They are called syndromes, which is an apt term, since syndromes are defined as a group of signs that occur together to characterize a particular abnormality. If the message polynomial is not 0 at any of the syndrome values, then there is an error in code. So how do I find the values of A and B in our example? Well, I take the polynomial without A and B and divide it by x minus 1, x minus 2. I get a degree 3 polynomial, which is what I want, but there is also a remainder, 37x minus 30. So I can move this to the left-hand side. For the polynomial to take the form I want, A must be negative 37, and B positive 30. So I send the message 1, negative 2, 3, 5, negative 37, 30. You plug in x equals 1 and x equals 2, and if you get 0 for both, you know the message was sent correctly. But what if there was an error in transmission? Say at position 4, the number has changed to 6. Well, now, if you evaluate x equals 1 and 2, the polynomial is still 0. To figure out where the error occurred, one at a time, you set each position to be a variable. Then you find the value of that variable, setting the polynomial to 0 and x equals 1. You repeat this for x equals 2. What you find is that the 2 values are different. This indicates that the second coefficient is not the error. You find the same for all the other coefficients, except when you reach the one where the error occurred. Here, not only are the 2 values equal, they are also equal to the originally transmitted number, and it's 5. So this method allows us both to check and correct errors with only a modest increase in size. This is a toy example for Reed-Solomon error correcting code, developed by mathematicians Irving S. Reed and Gustav Solomon in 1960. The job of decoding Reed-Solomon codes in a brute force way, as we described, is completely different. In fact, as the Voyager spacecraft floated in the outer solar system, NASA engineers knew their signal-to-noise ratio would get incredibly small. But the promise of Reed-Solomon codes was such that they put an experimental encoder in before launch, wagering that smarter encoding algorithms would follow the next decade. And that's exactly what happened. To this day, you can make out Voyager's ever-faking whispers thanks to Reed-Solomon codes. These codes also ensure that your old CDs or DVDs can still play your favorite songs and movies despite multiple scratches. And they are the reason why QR codes still work when damaged. In a QR code, we byte, our message bytes and final padding out real line fitting a high-degree polynomial using these can easily make the coefficients blow up. Hence, Reed-Solomon coding uses finite field arithmetic, Galois fields, and error correcting terms. These converted back into binary are used to fill out the rest of the QR code. And there we have our complete QR code. But why can't we scan it yet? See how these regions here are uniformly white and black? Well, sometimes the encoded data can insert clean patterns in blank spaces just by chance. These can confound the readers, which expect to see a noisy checkpoint. They think maybe it's a big damage byte, or maybe it's not a QR code at all. There is a way to fix this. Remember the 3 blue stones I put in?
He was
format string, well, they specify one of 8 ways to reshuffle the appearance of our QR code pixels to make them seem truly jumpy. This particular mask says flip pixels, so white becomes black, black becomes white, for every third column of data. But this does not apply to the functional elements of the code. They remain unchanged. The QR code standard specifies the use of 8 masking bits. Principle, when combined with the correct masking bit, all 8 forms of the code are readable, which is why some QR code generators will return different looking codes for the same inputs. But which one works best? Well, every continuous or bad hash points, and each mask gets assigned a score. The mask with the lowest score wins. It's the easiest for any reader to scan. For our handy QR code, I'm going to use the simplest methods. And now we know what the QR code. Try it out. First, in approaching this exercise, we realize again why QR codes. They have not been like we all make a mistake while we're trying to put things in black and white stones. This is really hard. Can I get this perfect? Initially, QR codes had only industrial uses.
最初は、少しとしましては、やっぱりこれが社会の存在がわからないので、まだその、上司としては、
But it wasn't long before the value of their data storage capacity was realized. In 2002, units was resurfaced in the UK. 179 people paid. We wanted to know exactly where the meat was coming from, how it was stored before it reached the supermarket. This time, the QR code was failing to help. It was one of the first instances where the curious checkpoints started to be in common use. But why are QR codes so successful? There are plenty of other 2D matrix codes out there. But one reason is that Denso Wave decided not to exercise patent rights on QR codes.
そうですね、私個人としてはやっぱり HTML ですから、自分の発明した QR コードが、世界中で使っていることが、嬉しかったので、そのコピーしたとか、私もそのデータとして QR コードがあったので、正解だったと思うし、だと思います。
And so instead opted to monetize and sell QR code scanners. Of course, with the rise of smartphones, most people consume variant QR code scanner often. But initially, QR code reading apps were third-party and rather niche. Then, in 2017, Android and Apple built QR code readers right on their camera apps. So the use of these codes took off. The COVID-19 pandemic also gave QR codes a boost worldwide. Suddenly, restaurants and vendors wanted a contactless way to hand out menus and product information. Contactless payment using QR codes took off in India and China. Today, India sees over 12 million QR code-enabled transactions a month. QR codes also proved handy in storing vaccine records and personal health information in phone wallets. But their enormous spread is also creating problems. A question about QR code safety. In recent years, some scammers have used QR codes to try to defraud people who read them. Do you have concerns about these uses?
やっぱりそれが、フィッシング詐欺、そういう悪い人だったりする。ただですね、日本ではですね、さっき言ったように、携帯で QR コードを読めるようになったから、企業のそういうことができると、QR コードをそのまた扱えなくなりましたので、QR コードがその、レスキューがしていて、何分で搭載した QR コードが開発しています。これから我々としては、電子認証をつけて、QR コードが誰が発布したのか、QR コードが誰が分かるように対応していきたいと思っています。
So as with anything on the internet, you have to pay extra attention to safety. Check for a scanned QR code or actually like. So I want to know about the future of QR codes. What is next for QR codes?
QR コードで基本的に定義しているし、画像とかそういうのが扱える、情報をしていきたいと思います。で、そこはなぜかというと、リモートで結構災害を含むネットワークとか Wi-Fi があるから使いなくなるとして、震源地とかマンション
لست جندي
さっきの災害になると、
ولكني أستعين
ま
بهم
あ、確認してそうまあ、その震源地の最初で、その場所で、まあ、だったりとか、その代わりにして、まあ、適切に仕事をしていきたいと思います。いわゆる、
Essere colti senza
まあ、
armi è la peggior ruina.
まあ、
When I
まあ、彼らにされしていく。
Now, the possibility of running out of UPC barcodes is remote. For QR codes, it is impossible. The number of unique version 1 QR codes using the lowest redundancy level is 2 to the 152. This is about 10 times the total number of legal transport configurations, which is also why a random distribution of pixels built into a QR code pattern generally cannot be interpreted as a message. You have scanned countless QR codes, and when you scan your next one, you'll have a better idea of how it works. But have you ever thought about what QR itself stands for?
QR コードの最大の特徴は、まあ、ができることで、まあ、それを判断することで、よし、つけました。
What is your favorite application of the QR code?
一応、驚いたものに関しては、まあ、アドレス交換とか、電話番号交換に QR コードを使って、最近ですね、まあ、プロモーションとして、ドローンで QR コードを作って結構最近やってるんです。まあ、見たときに、そういうことをしました。まあ、紙の媒体で表現することが、まあ、バーコードから QR コードを申請したいと考えて私はます。
My light is great. I am the path and the foothold of the people, because my eyes are of metal, while my teeth glitter with jewels.
You can never see anything enter a black hole. Imagine you trying to throw Nemesis in the rocket ship, blast him off towards a black hole. He looks back at you, shaking his fist at a constant rate. As he zooms in, gravity gets stronger, so you expect him to speed up. But it's not what you see. Instead, the rocket ship appears to be slowing down. Not only that, he also appears to be shaking his fist slower and slower. That's because, from your perspective, his time is slowing down. At the very instant when he should cross the event horizon, the point beyond which not even light can escape, he and his rocket ship do not disappear. Instead, they seem to stop, frozen in time. The light from the spaceship gets dimmer and redder until it completely fades from view. This is how any object would look crossing the event horizon. Light is still coming from the point where it crossed, it's just too redshifted to see. But if you could see that light, then in theory you would see everything that has ever fallen into the black hole frozen on its horizon, the big star that formed it. But in practice, photons are emitted at discrete intervals, so there will be a last photon emitted outside the horizon, and therefore these images will fade after some time. This is just one of the strange results that comes out of the general theory of relativity, our current best theory of gravity. The first solution of Einstein's equations predicted not only black holes, but also their opposite, white holes. It also implied the existence of parallel universes, even possibly a way to travel between them. This is a video about the real science of black holes, white holes, and wormholes. The general theory of relativity arose at least in part due to a fundamental flaw in Newtonian gravity. In the 1600s, Isaac Newton contemplated how an apple falls to the ground. The moon orbits the Earth, and the Earth orbits the Sun. He concluded that every object with mass must attract the other. But Newton was troubled by his own theory. How could masses separated by such vast distances apply a force on each other? He wrote that one body may act upon another at a distance through a vacuum without the mediation of anything else is to me so great an absurdity that I believe no man who has a competent faculty of thinking could ever fall into. One man who definitely had a competent faculty of thinking was Albert Einstein. And over 200 years later, he figured out how gravity is mediated. Bodies do not exert forces on each other directly. Instead, a mass like the sun curves the space-time in its immediate vicinity. This then curves the space-time around it, and so on all the way to the Earth. So the Earth orbits the sun because the space-time Earth is passing through is curved. Masses are affected by the local curvature of space-time, so no action at a distance is required. Mathematically, this is described by Einstein's field equations. Can you write down the Einstein field equation?
This was the result of Einstein's decade of hard work and special. Essentially, what we've got in the field equation, on one side it says, tell me about the distribution of matter energy. The other side tells you what the result of the curvature of space-time is from that distribution of matter energy. And it's a single line. It looks like, oh, this is a simple equation, right? But it's not really one equation. It's a family of equations. They go out difficult. They have a couple of equations. They depend upon each other. They are differential equations. So there are integrals that have to be done. So there's a whole bunch of steps that you need to do to solve the equations. To see what a solution to these equations would look like, you need a tool to understand space-time. So imagine you're floating around in empty space. A flash of light goes off above your head and spreads out in all directions. Now, your entire future, anything that can and will ever happen to you, will occur within this bubble, because the only way to get out of it would be to travel faster than light. In 2 dimensions, this bubble is just a growing circle. If we allow time to run up the screen and take snapshots at regular intervals, then this light bubble traces out your future light cone. By convention, the axes are scaled so that light rays always travel at 45 degrees. This cone reveals the only region of space-time you could ever hope to explore. Now imagine that instead of a flash of light above your head, those photons were actually traveling in from all corners of the universe. And they met at that instant and then continued traveling on in their separate directions. Well, in that case, then into the past, these photons also reveal a light cone, your past light cone. Only events that happened inside this cone could have affected you up to the present moment. We can simplify this diagram even further by plotting just one spatial and one time dimension. This is the space-time diagram of empty space. If you want to measure how far apart 2 events are in space-time, you use something called the space-time integral. The integral squared is equal to minus dt squared plus dx squared. Since space-time is flat, the geometry is the same everywhere, and so this formula holds throughout the entire diagram, which makes it really easy to measure the separation between any 2 events. But around a mass, space-time is curved, and therefore you need to modify the equation to take into account the geometry. This is what solutions to Einstein's equations are like. They tell you how space-time curves and how to measure the separation between 2 events in that curved geometry. Einstein published his equations in 1915 during the First World War, but he couldn't find an exact solution. Luckily, a copy of his paper made its way to the Eastern Germany, writing Russian. Stationed there was one of the best astrophysicists of the time, Karl Schwarzschild. Despite being 41 years old, he had volunteered to calculate artillery trajectories for the German army.
at least until a greater challenge caught his attention: how to solve Einstein's equations. Schwarzschild did the standard physics and imagined the simplest possible eternal universe with nothing except a single spherically symmetric point control and non-rotating. Since this was the only feature of his universe, he measured everything using spherical coordinates relative to his center of his mass. So r is the radius, and theta and phi give the angles. For his time coordinate, he chose time as being measured by someone far away from the mass, where space-time is essentially flat. Using this approach, Schwarzschild found the first non-trivial solution to Einstein's equation. Now it would be right like this. Schwarzschild curves outside of the mass. It's pretty simple and makes intuitive sense. Far away from the mass, space-time is nearly flat, but as you get closer and closer to it, space-time becomes more and more curved, it attracts objects in, and time runs slower. Schwarzschild sent his solution to Einstein, concluding with, "The war treated me kindly enough, in spite of the heavy gunfire, to allow me to get away from it all and take this land with your ideas." Einstein replied, "I have read your paper with the utmost interest. I had not expected that one could formulate the exact solution to the problem in such a simple way." But what seemed at first quite simple soon became more complicated. Shortly after Schwarzschild's solution to the problem, people noticed two problem spots. At the center of the mass, the r equals 0, is divided by 0. So if it goes up to infinity,
homme supérieur n'obstrue jamais le passage d'un autre.
हाँ, एगो सही मार्ग।
Remain. truly brave never. perfection. After the true. skill is handed down to me from my ancestors. After the ascent, after Spring comes to the woodlands. The Shawnee will craft their legacy of unity and dominance.
Ayo,
Once more. There exists.
J'ai fait le calcul. Le destin...
أنا لست جندي ولكني أستعين.
Wealth, sir, the you. I work